We are taking this deep right now. You know, at one point soon, we will have given you everything that you need to know. We will have given you every aspect of the knowledge that you need to know to go out and do your research, the building blocks to do your research and make your mind state and get with like-minded people, not in a mindset, but in mind state, and push this forward. Reparations then, reparations now, reparations in the future. So when were the Nazis formed, and when did they come to power under Adolf Hitler?
Let me see. Now, they were formed in February 24th, 1920 in Munich, Germany. And let's see here. When did they come under Hitler? They came under Hitler. Looks like July 29th, 1921. So a year later, or less than a whole year later.
When did they come to power to be, because, you know, they have like a parliament, and so they came to power totally in 1933 when they started to push across Europe to take Europe over. That's what I'm looking for next. So they came in 21, and it took them, 11 years to build, 12 years to build where they were. And that's what I'm looking for next, to give context to where we're headed. So remember, this is 1921. What's happening in 1921? What's happening? Where did the Nazis get their information on how to treat the Jewish people? They came over and looked at antebellum slavery, 1865, 1812, 1822, 1832. They're over here studying and taking it back. Went to the Tasmanians, wiped the Tasmanians out. Then when they came to power, they were jealous. Did we just say jealous of the people who had the power, had the money, and they went in to destroy those people, and they used eugenics that they learned from the United States of America. You have to catch up. You have to get context. You have to put in a context. 1877. When was Margaret Sanger around with the woman's suffrage movement? What did she believe in with eugenics? Who was she tied to that were German? What did they do to American black women in the sterilization era? What did they do to, what do they still do to American black women with this little, our opinion, our observation, this little company, Planned Parenthood, with over 22 million American black abortions and counting. With 44 million, we could have been 66 million, baby. No immigrant would ever overtake. Huh? So when did Nazis take full power and started to push to take Europe?
Okay, what you're looking for, Hitler's blend of political acuity, deceptiveness, and cunning converted the party's non-majority and plurality status into effective governing power in the ailing Weimar Republic of 1933. So it was 1933. You hit that on the money.
So 6 years later, the Nazis have become such a problem that United States, using majority German immigrants in the film of Confessions of a Nazi Spy, they used those who came to America to escape to tell the story of what was happening a few years earlier when the Nazis were sending spies over. And what could have eliminated that altogether if they hadn't have been passing that 1877 legislation that put American black people back into a slave state without being on plantation because our minds were considered deficient. What was going on with eugenics then? Who were the people who were saying, the scientists saying that the African brain or the black brain was smaller than the European brain? When was all this happening? See, you have to tie all of this together. You have to tie all of this together. What do you have to say before we get to this? Because we're coming to the Confessions of a Nazi Spy. This movie in 1939 is so raw. You have to see this film, and you notice who you don't see in the picture. You don't see any black people in the picture, as if we don't exist, but they wouldn't even had to go through all of this trying to get the Nazi spies out and going into all this counter espionage and espionage if they had just been fair to the people who had actually built the country. But they were afraid. They had fear. But that's no excuse. What you got to say?
You know, in the usual jellyback form of racism, in a 1921 article, Margaret Sanger said the most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the overfertility of the mentally and physically defective. She was, of course, not alone in that viewpoint in the 1920s and 30s, which was the same exact period of time that Hitler was transitioning the regime of the Nazi Party through the 20s and 30s. Eugenics enjoyed widespread support from mainstream doctors, scientists, and the general public. Planned Parenthood officials are quick to note that despite her thoughts on the idea in general, Sanger uniformly repudiated, this is Jellyback right here, she uniformly repudiated the racist exploitations of eugenic principles. So she trying to double back and say that it's not the American black or black people that she was targeting through her eugenics, though she was running parallel with the thoughts of the Nazi Party through the 20s and 30s. My God, just stand for it. If you're gonna make a statement, stand on it. I don't understand this making statements and can't stand on what you say. But yeah, she was very much running in parallel with Hitler's thought process. And so, you know, Hitler's thing was to create a perfect race, a flawless race. And I don't really see how he could think that way. He looked like he was mixed with several things. So I don't understand how, he took that point of view, but he did. He looked like he was mixed with several things. He was certainly mentally ill, and he needed some fanat back then. And so,
listen, this is the same woman during the women's suffrage movement when they had the women's suffrage march to vote. And they wouldn't let the AKAs walk in the front of the parade, in the middle of the parade. They want them to walk in the back of the parade. And that's when some of the AKAs, as the story goes, just observation, and in my opinion on it, I haven't given an opinion, I'll just say that's when some of the AKAs broke away, formed Delta Sigma Theta, as the story goes, so they could walk in the parade. And where did they walk in the parade? Tell me, Tanya, where did the Deltas walk in the parade?